Going to be worked diagonally, and I'm going to be starting with the thread on the left and then working it over all the other threads until it's in the position on the right. To get started, you want to arrange your threads in colour order. So I've got 2 outline colours on the left and I've got 1 outline colour on the right, and then the rest of the colours in the centre. So I've used a block colour here, but you could do stripes if you prefer. You can begin this from a tapered start, or you can just go straight into doing your knotting. So for this one, I'm going to go straight into knotting. I'm going to take the thread on the left and I'm going to do forward knots all across the row. So once you've knotted with your first thread, you aren't going to knot this thread again for the rest of the section. So every time you pick up a thread on this side, you're going to skip knotting that one on this side. So for the first one, it's going to be just this thread. And for your second row, you want to start with a forward backward knot. And then taking the thread that you just worked over, you want to do forward knots for the rest of the row except for the last thread. And for your last thread, you want to do a forward backward knot. For your next row, you want to start with a forward backward knot. And then you want to do forward knots for the rest of your row. And then put this thread with the others out of the way. This won't be worked again for the rest of the row. And you want to keep repeating this sequence until you're down to your last thread. So for your first knot, you will always do a forward backward knot with the outline colour. And then you'll take the next colour and do the rest of your row with forward knots. and then drop the thread and repeat. So once you're down to your last thread, you've completed the first part of your section, and then you want to start working from the right hand side, and you want to take the outline colour that should be on the right, and you want to do backward knots along the rest of the row. As you did before, once you've worked this thread, this is the last time you work it for this section, and you'll start with the next colour on the right, and this time you're going to do a backward forward knot. And then taking the next colour, you want to do backward knots of the rest of the threads except this one. And for your last thread, you want to do a backward forward knot. For your next row again, you want to do a backward forward knot for the first thread. And then backward knots for the rest of the threads apart from the last two. And like you did for the first section, you want to keep repeating this where you do a backward forward for the first thread just to keep the outline colour in the same position every time. And then you want to do backward knots for the rest of the threads, but always skipping the ones you've already worked. And do this until you're down to one thread. So once you've completed your last thread of this section, you want to repeat what you did the first time and take the thread that is on the opposite side, and you want to do forward knots across all the rest of the threads. And you want to keep repeating these two sections all the way down until you've got the bracelet as long as you want it to be. And when you're finished, you should end up with something that looks like this. So I've finished with 2 braided tie-on ends, but you could use whichever fastening you prefer. And that is your completed friendship bracelet.